And if you know nothing about baseball, that sentence will never make any sense. You can know the definition of sacrifice, you can know the definition of advance, you can know the definition of every word in there. But if you don't know anything about baseball, and if somebody gave me a sentence like that out of cricket, I wouldn't have a clue what they were talking about. So background knowledge is crucial to understanding what you're reading. And we finally figured that out when we talk about teaching literacy in secondary, in high schools, and upper middle schools. The problem isn't that the kids can't sound out the words and figure out what the words in the sentence are. It's that they don't have the basic background knowledge to make any sense of it. So the way you improve reading isn't by teaching them the skills, it's by getting them to read more and get that content knowledge. Okay, another quick example. This one's from the Science Standards in Life Science. And I highlighted the two on this one that I wanted you to see. The concept and skill. Well, the standard is that students will be able to explain and illustrate with examples how living systems interact with the biotic and abiotic environment. The concept and skill is that human activities can deliberately or inadvertently alter ecosystems and their resiliency. Again, we've got some specific tasks that we would expect the student to be able to do, but under the relevance and application. And I highlighted this one in particular because I wanted to show that we do not have politically correct standards. I made sure of that, at least in science. First one is that human activities such as cutting down forests and polluting water or covering up deserts with fields of solar panels are constantly changing various cycles and habitats in the natural world. In the draft, that third phrase wasn't in there. It was just cutting down forests and polluting water. And I said, it's not just that stuff that affects environment. It's your windmill farms and wind turbine farms too. So the next one is there are laws that preserve and protect wilderness areas such as natural parks and other natural areas, but such laws also limit the utilization of natural resources in these areas. We want kids to understand that and be able to think through that as part of our standards. That's the 21st century piece of this. One more quick example. This is from Earth Science. Goes to climate change. The expectation for a prepared graduate is to evaluate evidence that the Earth's geosphere, atmosphere, hydrosphere, and biosphere interact as a complete system. The 8th grade content we expect them to master is that Earth has a variety of climates defined by average temperature, precipitation, humidity, air pressure, and wind that have changed over time in a particular location. And the 21st century skills around inquiry questions: what evidence supports and/or contradicts human influence on climate change? And again, in the draft, it just said what evidence supports. So I got them to put and/or contradicts in there. And then one they're asking on the west or east coast right now, what's the difference between weather and climate? There was an article, I think it was in the New York Times today, about the debate that is going on now that the East Coast is getting dumped on with all this snow of what happened to global warming. And the climate experts on both sides of the debate are saying this has nothing to do with what's happening to the climate. This is weather, and it can change next year. And oh, by the way, yeah, some of the models predicted that we were going to see this kind of stuff. So that's what, in Colorado at least, we mean when we say 21st century skills and what we want students to get. What's driving this again? Automation. Anything that can be automated will be. Anything that's routine task is going to be done by a machine. It's not going to be done by a person, at least not in this country. Globalization, work's going to move where it can be done with the lowest cost and most efficiency. And more it's possible to piece out that work. So it's not at all uncommon for a radiologist in India to be reading your x-ray. It's becoming more common for a surgeon somewhere, India, China, US, to be operating via distance technology on somebody in Europe. It's happening. Corporate change, corporations are changing. They're flatter organizations, there's less hierarchy, there's less management structure. Corporations are expecting people that are working for them to take a lot of those responsibilities. And finally, risk and responsibility. We talked about the way jobs are changing and the necessity to take control of your own life and your own career. So what's this mean for learning for the 21st century? And I think this is the last slide. Again, as you look into this, and I think the way we've captured it in Colorado, that means that there are three kinds of learning now that are becoming increasingly important and essential for students to succeed. One is, again, the traditional academic content knowledge and skills. That has not gone away. If anything, it's become more important. But on top of that, the real-world application and the applied literacies. What's this knowledge mean, and how well can kids use it to actually go out there and solve problems and understand what's going on in the world? And finally, those broader competencies about critical thinking, about interpersonal skills, the creativity, and the self-direction. If that's what we believe as educators, as business people, as corporate leaders, students are going to need to succeed in the 21st century, then what's education need to look like? Well, it can't keep looking like it's looked for the last 50 years. And, to go to Mike's point, I really see this budget crisis as a golden opportunity for districts that are willing to think outside the box and seriously ask themselves, in everything they're doing, why are we doing this and why are we doing it this way? Do we need to keep doing this? And speaking as a state board member, if the answer is, we got a better way to do it, if only this law wasn't in the way or this rule wasn't in the way, we can waive those. All you got to do is ask and tell us what you're going to do instead. And it used to be you needed the approval of the teachers, the administrators, and basically the PTA before you could do that. Well, guess what? If you have exclusive chartering authority, which everybody in this room does, and every district but about 6 in the state do, you don't need that. All you need to do is have a public hearing, tell everybody what you're going to do, get comment, board votes on it, and bring it to the state board for approval. And I would love to be inundated with waiver requests from districts saying, we got a better way to do this. Because we can't keep doing it the way we've been doing it. And when we adopted these contents or standards in December, after we took the vote on them, first thing I said was, folks, there is no way anybody out there is going to be able to do this in 6 periods a day, 180 days a year. It just is not going to happen. So get creative, get self-directed, start doing some critical thinking, and see where we can go.